Welcome back, everyone. We've got a really fascinating deep dive for you today.
Oh, I'm excited for this one.
It's Tim Cook,
Yeah.
the Apple CEO.
We've got a recent interview with
Yeah.
him that we're going to go over. It is, it's just packed with insights. I mean,
Oh.
everything from his early life
Oh, wow.
all the way to running Apple.
Cool.
You know, pivotal moments,
Yeah.
leadership lessons
Oh, yeah.
from Steve Jobs, like all sorts of stuff.
Can't wait.
And you know what? Did you know
Uh,
Tim Cook almost didn't join Apple?
Seriously?
Yeah.
Oh, wow. I didn't realize that.
We're gonna talk about why that almost happened,
Yeah.
and then how his decision ultimately shaped the tech world as we know it.
Yeah, that's a big one. I mean, it's hard to imagine Apple without him at the helm now.
I know, right?
It's interesting. You know, we always focus on his time at Apple, but I think it's really valuable to go back further and understand where he came from.
Right.
You know, those early experiences that shaped who he is. Yeah, and this interview actually does a really good job of that.
Okay.
You know, talking about his upbringing and even his first job at IBM. You know, one thing that jumped out at me is how much he talks about his humble beginnings. He used to deliver newspapers
Right.
at 3 in the morning.
3 a.m.
Yeah. And not just to, you know, help his family out, but to save money for college.
That's incredible. I mean, that really speaks volumes about his work ethic, you know,
Right.
even at a young age.
Right.
He was so driven, and you can see how much emphasis he places on education.
Mm.
Being the first in his family to go to college,
Right.
he really credits it with, like, opening all these doors for him.
Yeah.
Makes you wonder, like, how much of that kind of thinking has influenced some of Apple's initiatives today.
That's a really good point. It makes you think about how his own personal values are reflected in the company's culture.
Yeah, for sure.
But, you know, even before Apple, he had some pretty interesting experiences. I mean, imagine like driving across the entire country after graduating from Auburn
Yeah.
with all your belongings
Oh.
to start your first job at IBM.
That's a big leap of faith.
And he said he was sleeping on the floor
Oh, wow.
until he could actually afford to buy a bed.
That's wild. You can really picture him back then, you know?
Yeah.
Super determined, adaptable, got to make it work.
Totally.
Yeah.
And it sounds like his time at IBM
Yeah.
actually had a big influence on him.
I bet.
He was working with this incredibly talented, diverse group of people
Yeah.
from all over the world.
Sounds amazing.
And it seems like that really kind of laid the groundwork for him to appreciate different perspectives and the power of teamwork
Makes sense.
later on.
Yeah. He actually describes IBM as being like this
Oh, yeah.
this marvelous place.
Filled with like brilliant people.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I can definitely see how that kind of environment would shape how he thinks about leadership and team building.
For sure. So, you know, now we've got Cook at IBM.
Mm-hmm.
It seems like he's doing really well.
Yeah.
But then comes this really pivotal moment, deciding to join Apple.
Yeah.
I mean, think about it. Like, at the time,
Yeah.
Apple was really struggling.
Right. They were on the verge of bankruptcy.
Right. People were actually advising him against taking the job.
I can't believe he still went for it.
But he trusted his gut, and he
Uh-huh.
went for it.
So what was it about Apple that appealed to him even with all that uncertainty?
Well, he talks about a couple things in the interview. He was drawn to Steve Jobs' vision
Okay.
and his, like, laser focus on product development.
That makes sense. Jobs is known for that.
Right. And he also mentions, you know, Jobs really believing in those small,
Yeah.
tightly knit teams.
Right. But here's the thing. Cook was also excited about Jobs' plan to shift Apple's focus
Oh.
to consumers.
Interesting.
Remember, this was back when everyone was chasing after the enterprise market.
So he was kind of going against the grain.
Totally. I mean, he saw this potential where everyone else just saw like a sinking ship.
It takes a certain kind of vision to do that.
Right.
To see opportunity in a situation like that.
Yeah.
Like, he wasn't just blindly following Jobs. He genuinely believed in what Apple could do, you know? He saw it as a chance to help turn around what he called an American treasure.
So he was all in on this vision.
Yeah, it sounds like it.
But what I find even more fascinating is what he learned from actually working alongside Steve Jobs.
Oh, yeah. The leadership lessons. There's got to be a ton there.
I know, right? I mean, we could probably do a whole deep dive just on that.
Probably, yeah.
But there was this one story in the interview that really stuck with me. Apparently, Cook was kind of surprised at first by Jobs' ability to like completely change his mind
Oh, interesting.
just like that in an instant.
Like on a dime, huh?
But over time, he actually came to admire that flexibility.
That's cool. It kind of makes sense, though. To be able to be successful in an industry like tech,
Right.
you got to be able to adapt and to evolve, like how we all need to handle new information and, be open to changing our minds.
Absolutely. It's such a valuable lesson. And it's one thing to talk about it,
Mm-hmm.
but to see it in action, especially from someone like Steve Jobs. I mean, it really makes you think.
Yeah, that's a great point.
Okay. So we've talked a lot about,
Yeah.
Cook's early influences, his decision to join Apple.
Yeah.
But now I want to kind of shift gears a bit and talk about Cook's own leadership style.
Oh, sure.
I mean, one of the things that I found fascinating
Yeah.
is his love for logistics.
Really?
Yeah. And his deep understanding of how things are made. That's not something you typically associate with like a tech CEO, right?
Yeah, true.
It's almost like he sees it as an art form, which is kind of cool.
It's true. It all comes back to his background in industrial engineering.
Oh, right.
It's all about making those systems and processes as good as they can be. And he actually uses words like piece of art and symphony to describe a good supply chain.
Really?
I know. It's not usually how people think about supply chains.
No, not at all.
But I like that he sees beauty and the complexity of it all.
It shows how detail-oriented he is. I mean,
Yeah.
that level of focus even extends to something like a
Yeah.
global supply chain.
Absolutely.
Right.
And think about it. We always hear about the cool products and the launches and all that, but the work that goes on behind the scenes
Yeah.
to make sure people actually get those products, that's just as important.
It's a huge part of their success.
Definitely.
But, here's the thing. Even with this incredibly technical approach, he starts every day by reading customer emails.
Whoa. Hold on. Really?
Yeah. I mean, it's such a
Dude, that's perfect.
personal touch. It shows he's really connected to the people who are using Apple's products.
Yeah.
It's not just about strategy
Right.
and the big picture.
It's about the human element.
Exactly. It's those human connections that really matter.
Yeah. That's a really good point.
And, it's a good reminder for all of us, right?
Absolutely.
Whether we're, running a team or just working with colleagues, those personal connections can make all the difference.
They really can. Yeah. And speaking of the human side of things,
Yeah.
Cook actually gets pretty personal in this interview.
Oh, yeah.
He talks about the sacrifices he's made, things like sleep.
Mm.
And he even admits to having a bit of a coffee habit.
How much coffee are we talking?
Well, he actually jokes and says,
What?
maybe don't try to keep up with me on that one.
Okay. I'll take his word for it.
Right. But, even more interesting than the coffee talk is how he talks about handling criticism.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, he mentions having to have thick skin.
Right,
and
yeah.
being able to really take in feedback.
Mm.
But the thing that really stuck with me was how much he emphasized not getting defensive.
That's a big one.
Right. I think that's something we can all,
Yeah.
learn from. It's about using feedback to grow
Right.
instead of getting all caught up in taking it personally.
That's so true.
And another thing he talked about that I thought was really refreshing was how much he genuinely loves what he does.
Oh, yeah.
It's so easy to get caught up in the pressures of being a CEO,
Right.
all the demands and the stress.
Yeah. You hear so many stories about how tough it is.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But with Cook, you really get this sense that he finds his work genuinely fulfilling.
Yeah, that came across in the
He
interview.
even said it's fantastic.
Wow. Okay, so super happy CEO.
It's inspiring.
Right.
Yeah, totally. Reminds us that success isn't just about the external stuff.
Mm.
It's about finding work that you actually care about.
Yeah, that's huge.
Now, another thing that came up in this interview was Cook's reflections on his own journey. He was pretty candid about how his super detailed 25-year plan went out the window pretty quickly.
Life. Right.
I know, but he made a good point about
What?
how important it is to roll with the punches,
Untapped. Right.
Yeah, to be open to new opportunities and to recognize when new doors are opening. He even asked listeners, think about what doors are opening in your life right now.
Oh, wow. That's a powerful question.
Yeah, it is. I mean, it's so easy to miss those opportunities.
I know,
when
right?
You're not really paying attention.
Totally. Cook's story is a reminder to stay open to those possibilities and to be okay with deviating from the plan. Totally. And it's also a great reminder that, success isn't this straight line.
Yeah.
There are going to be detours and obstacles and bumps along the way. And it's how you handle those challenges that really shapes your journey.
Absolutely. Thinking back to his decision to join Apple, that was a huge risk.
Right.
Yeah. What do you think ultimately made him decide to take that leap of faith?
Well, I mean, it was probably a lot of different things,
Mhm.
but it's clear he really saw something special in Steve Jobs.
Yeah, he called him the creative genius who started the entire industry.
Exactly. I mean, he wanted to be a part of that
Yeah, man.
world-changing energy.
That makes sense.
But it wasn't just about Jobs himself. I mean,
Right.
Cook really believed in Apple's products.
Okay.
And he saw those dedicated teams as a way to create amazing things.
Right.
And he was really drawn to Jobs' focus on innovation
Yeah.
and simplicity.
He talked about that a lot. Yeah. That emphasis on products.
Right. That's at the core of who Apple is.
And it's definitely something Cook has continued to focus on. But I also think a big part of it was Cook's contrarian nature. He saw an opportunity where everyone else saw failure.
Yeah. I mean, going after the consumer market was a bold move.
Yeah. Especially when everyone else was focused on the enterprise market.
It was.
But, it turned out to be a pretty brilliant one.
It really did.
And Cook was one of the few who saw that potential early on.
And that trust in Jobs' vision obviously paid off.
It did.
But Cook also brought his own unique skills to the table. I mean, his expertise
Oh, yeah.
in logistics and supply chains was a huge part of Apple's success.
I agree. We often hear about the exciting side of tech, like the design and the innovation, but the operational side, being able to actually make and distribute products on such a massive scale,
Right.
that's critical.
It is. And Cook really excelled in that area.
Yeah. He famously called a well-run supply chain a piece of art. And the way he approaches it with that level of precision and care,
Right.
you don't really see that too often in this industry.
No, you don't.
That meticulous attention to detail,
Yeah.
making sure every part of the process is running smoothly.
Right.
I mean, that's a big reason why they've been so successful.
And it's amazing how he combines that analytical side with a genuine passion
Right.
for the products and the people who use them. Remember, he starts each day by reading customer emails.
It's true. It's not just about the numbers for him.
Right.
It's about creating something that people love. And speaking of leadership,
Yeah.
one thing that Cook learned from Steve Jobs
Mm-hmm.
was how important it is to build high-performing teams.
Oh.
Jobs really believed in small, focused groups.
Right.
He thought that was the best way to get amazing results.
Yeah. And it sounds like that philosophy really resonated with Cook.
Definitely. It's all about empowering people, giving them ownership, letting them be creative, and hiring the best people and trusting them to do their best work.
Yeah. Cook talks about surrounding yourself with people who challenge you, people who have skills you don't.
It's about creating a team where everyone brings something unique to the table.
Right. It's that whole greater than the sum of its parts idea.
Exactly. And it's about creating an environment where people can collaborate
Right.
and communicate openly. And I think Jobs and Cook had a really interesting dynamic. They were both incredibly passionate,
Oh, for sure.
super driven,
Yeah.
but they weren't afraid to disagree
Mm-hmm.
and to push each other.
Yeah. Cook even mentions how Jobs could just change his mind in an instant. At first, he was a little surprised by that,
Yeah, I bet.
but he came to admire that ability to be flexible.
That's a crucial quality for a leader, especially in tech. Things change so fast, you have to be able to adapt and make quick decisions. And sometimes that means letting go of old ideas when a better one comes along.
It's about always being open to learning and evolving, no matter how successful you are.
Right. And it's about recognizing that failing is part of the process.
That's so important.
Both Jobs and Cook knew that taking risks
Yeah.
means that not every idea is going to work out.
Right.
The important thing is to learn from those setbacks and keep going
Keep innovating.
and create an environment where people feel safe to experiment.
That's where the real magic happens.
Exactly. That's where the breakthroughs come from.
Yeah.
So we've talked about Cook's early days, his time at IBM, his decision to go to Apple, and his leadership style. But I want to dive a bit deeper into his personal philosophy, How does he approach work and life in general? What insights did you get from the interview about that?
Well, one thing that jumped out at me was how much he emphasizes balance.
Oh, okay.
He's open about the fact that he's made sacrifices,
Mhm.
like not getting enough sleep.
We all do that.
But, he also talks about how important it is to find joy in what you do.
Yeah.
He clearly loves his work, and you can just feel that passion
Yeah.
in everything he does. It's so different from a lot of CEOs.
I know, right? You always hear about how much they hate their jobs.
Yeah. But Cook seems
Hi.
genuinely fulfilled by his work.
Yeah, he actually said he finds it fantastic.
Wow. He's a rare breed.
He is. It's inspiring to see someone at that level who still finds so much meaning in their work.
Yeah.
It reminds us that success isn't just about achieving goals.
Right.
It's also about finding work that actually aligns with your values and what you're passionate about.
So finding that purpose.
Exactly. And, he also seems to have a really grounded perspective on life in general.
What do you mean?
Well, he talks about how his meticulously planned 25-year plan completely fell apart pretty early on.
Ooh, right.
He really emphasizes the importance of being able to roll with it.
Yeah. Adapt.
Adapting to those unexpected changes. He even encourages listeners to ask themselves, what doors are opening in your life right now?
That's a good question. I mean, it really makes you think about what opportunities might be out there.
Exactly. We need to be more present
Yeah.
and aware of the possibilities that
Yeah.
are all around us.
And, it's just like how Cook trusted his instincts when he decided to join Apple.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes you just have to go for it, right?
Absolutely. So taking all of this into account,
Mm-hmm.
what does it tell us about Tim Cook as a leader?
I think it shows us that he's incredibly driven and ambitious,
Definitely.
but also really human and compassionate.
Right.
He's a visionary leader who isn't afraid to challenge the status quo,
Mm-hmm.
but he also genuinely cares about his employees, his customers, and the world around him.
Yeah. I think what really stands out is how he combines
Yeah.
strategic thinking with this genuine personal touch.
Right.
It shows that leadership isn't just about making those big decisions. It's also about truly connecting with people,
Yeah.
building relationships, and understanding different perspectives.
And that's something we can all learn from,
That's
no
great.
matter where we are in our careers
Mhm.
or what we do. And let's not forget that question Cook posed. What doors are opening in your life right now?
Oh, yeah. That's a good one to reflect on.
It is.
What opportunities are out there?
Yeah.
And are we willing to take risks to go after them?
I love that.
So with that in mind, let's move on to some other interesting aspects of Cook's leadership.
Sounds good. I'm ready.
It's a good one. It really makes you stop and think. And it's so true.
Yeah.
It's easy to get stuck in your routine and miss those opportunities that are right there in front of you.
Totally. Like, have you ever had one of those moments
Oh, absolutely.
where a door kind of swung open
Mm.
and you're like, whoa, I wasn't expecting that.
Totally. And then, you have to decide if you're going to walk through it or not.
Right. And I think Cook's story is
Mm.
such a great example of
Mhm.
like the power of being open to new possibilities.
Definitely. And of being okay with changing course, even if it means throwing out your old plan.
Right. Like life rarely goes exactly according to plan.
I know, right?
Yeah.
But sometimes those unexpected turns
Yeah.
lead to the most amazing things.
Totally. Okay. So we've talked a lot about,
Mhm.
Cook's early life
Mm.
and his decision to join Apple and,
Right.
and the lessons he learned from Steve Jobs. But now I kind of want to focus on Cook's own leadership style.
Oh, sure.
One thing that really struck me
Yeah.
is how he approaches supply chains.
Okay.
Like he really gets into the nitty-gritty of it.
Oh, wow.
And he talks about it almost
Yeah.
like it's this fascinating puzzle,
Really? Oh,
which I guess it is in a way.
yeah, I guess so.
But he's so passionate about it.
That's cool. It's not something you usually hear CEOs talking about with such enthusiasm.
No, you don't. And it really highlights
Yeah.
his incredible attention to detail.
Mm.
Like he wants every step of the process
Yeah.
to be as efficient and streamlined as possible.
Right, right.
He's all about optimizing the whole system.
So it's not just about the products themselves.
Right.
It's about how those products
Mm.
get into people's hands
Yeah,
efficiently and effectively.
exactly. He actually compares a well-run supply chain
Mm.
to a piece of art,
Oh, wow.
which I thought was kind of cool.
It is. It's it shows how he sees the beauty in something
Yeah.
that most people would consider pretty mundane.
Totally. And it's so important, right? I
Mhm.
mean, a smooth, efficient supply chain
Yeah.
is really crucial to Apple's success.
It is. Think about it.
Yeah.
They sell millions of products all over the world.
Right.
If the supply chain breaks down,
Yeah.
everything grinds to a halt.
Totally. And you know what's interesting is
Mm.
even though Cook has this like incredibly technical,
Yeah.
analytical approach to logistics,
Yeah.
he also brings in this really human element to his leadership.
What do you mean?
Well, I mean, we talked earlier about how he starts each day
Well, yeah.
reading customer emails.
Right.
And that really shows, you know,
Right.
his commitment to connecting with the people who are actually using Apple's products. It's
Yeah.
not just about, you know, the bottom line.
It's about understanding their experience.
Exactly. It's about creating a positive experience
Yeah.
for every single person who interacts with Apple's products.
And that's something that's often overlooked, you know.
Yeah.
In this age of like automation and algorithms, it's easy to forget that human touch.
Totally. And it's something I think we can all learn from,
Definitely.
whether, you know, we're designing products or leading teams or just interacting with people in our daily lives.
Right. That human element is so important.
Okay. So we've talked about Cook's love for logistics,
Mm-hmm.
his focus on customer experience.
Yeah.
But I think it's also really important to talk about
Yeah.
the lessons he learned from Steve Jobs.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a huge part of his story.
I know, right? I mean, Cook has said that Jobs was like his mentor and that he learned so much from working alongside him.
Mm-hmm.
So what were some of those key lessons?
Well, I think one of the biggest ones was the importance of focus.
Oh,
Jobs was known for being incredibly focused.
yeah.
He knew exactly what he wanted,
Mm-hmm.
and he wouldn't let anything distract him from that goal.
And it sounds like Cook really took that to heart.
He did. He's talked about how Jobs taught him to say no to a lot of things
Yeah.
so that he could say yes to the
Right.
things that really mattered.
That's so important. It's easy to get spread too thin.
I know, right? Especially when you're running a company like Apple.
Right. There are always a million different things you could be doing.
Exactly. But Jobs taught Cook that it's better to do a few things really well
Mm-hmm.
than to do a lot of things
Right.
kind of mediocre.
Yeah. Quality over quantity.
Absolutely. And another big lesson was the importance of simplicity.
Oh, yeah. That's a big one for Apple.
It is. Jobs believed that products should be easy to use
All right.
and intuitive.
Mm.
And he really pushed his team
Yeah.
to strip away all the unnecessary complexity.
To make it as user-friendly as possible.
Exactly. And that's something that Cook has carried forward as CEO.
Oh, for sure. You can see it in all of Apple's products.
Yeah?
They're designed to be simple and elegant and easy to understand.
Yeah. They don't overwhelm you with a bunch of complicated features.
Exactly. And I think that's a big part of why people love Apple products so much.
Definitely. It's that combination of like powerful technology
Yeah.
and ease of use.
Right. It just works
Yeah.
seamlessly.
Okay. So focus, simplicity.
Mm-hmm.
What else did Cook learn from Jobs?
Well, another big one was the importance of hiring great people.
Oh, yeah. You can't do it alone.
Right. Jobs believed that A players
Mhm.
wanted to work with other A players.
So it creates this like virtuous cycle.
Exactly. So he was really meticulous about who he brought into the company. And it sounds like Cook has continued that tradition.
Oh, absolutely. He's known for being really selective when it
Yeah.
comes to hiring.
Right. I mean, he wants the best of the best.
Yeah. And he's willing to take his time
Right.
to find the right people
Yeah.
because he knows that the team is everything.
Yeah. I mean, it makes sense, right?
Yeah.
You're only as good as the people you surround yourself with.
Exactly. And I think another important lesson was the importance of having a strong vision.
Oh, okay.
Jobs had this incredible ability to see the future,
Right.
to imagine products and technologies
Yeah.
that didn't even exist yet.
It's almost like he was a magician or something.
It is. And he was able to inspire his team
Yeah.
to bring that vision to life.
And that's something that Cook has definitely carried forward.
Oh, for sure.
I mean, he's continued to push Apple
Yeah.
in new and innovative directions.
Right. He's not afraid to take risks and to try new things. And I think that's a big part of why Apple has been able to stay ahead of the curve.
Totally. It's that constant innovation.
Mm.
Okay. So we've got focus, simplicity, hiring great people, strong vision, anything else.
Well, one more thing that comes to mind is the importance of being willing to change your mind.
Oh, yeah. We talked about that earlier.
We did. But I think it's worth repeating
Oh, okay.
because it's such an important lesson.
So, like, being adaptable.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Jobs was famous for changing his mind all the time.
Right. And at first, it kind of threw Cook off.
I bet. But he eventually realized that it was actually a strength.
Right. It shows that you're
Yeah.
you're open to new information
Hmm.
and you're not afraid to admit when you're wrong.
Right. And I think that's something that Cook has really embraced in his own leadership.
Yeah, I mean, you can see how Apple has evolved and adapted over the years.
Mm-hmm.
They're not afraid to try new things
Right.
and to change course
Mhm.
when necessary.
And that's what keeps them innovative and relevant.
Totally. Okay, so we've covered a lot of ground here.
We have.
You know, Cook's early life,
Mm-hmm.
his time at IBM,
Yeah.
his decision to join Apple,
Right.
the lessons he learned from Steve Jobs,
Mhm.
his own unique leadership style.
Yeah.
I mean, it's been fascinating, right?
It really has. It's amazing to see how far he's come
I know, right?
and the impact he's had on the world.
So, as we kind of start to wrap things up,
Mm-hmm.
what are your final thoughts?
Well, I think what really stands out to me is how Cook has been able to take everything he's learned
Mm-hmm.
from his experiences, from his mentors, and really make it his own.
Right.
He's not just copying what others have done.
Yeah.
He's forging his own path.
Mm.
And that's really inspiring, I think.
Totally.
It shows that we can all learn from the past,
Yeah.
but ultimately we need to find our own way.
Yeah. Find our own voice.
Exactly. So, as we finish up our deep dive into Tim Cook,
Mm-hmm.
I want to leave you with this question.
Okay.
What are you doing to forge your own path?
Ooh, that's a good one.
Yeah.
I like that. What are we doing to be our best selves? Right?
Yeah, exactly. What are we passionate about? What are we, uniquely good at?
Yeah.
And how can we use those things to make a difference?
It's about finding that sweet spot
Mm.
where your skills and your passions align.
Totally. And not being afraid to take risks.
Right? Like Cook did when he joined Apple.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Sometimes you just got to trust your gut and
Yeah.
go for it.
So, as we wrap up our deep dive into Tim Cook's journey,
Mm-hmm.
I'm curious, like what was the most surprising thing you learned about him?
I think what really struck me was
Yeah.
how he combines that, like, really strategic analytical thinking
Mm-hmm.
with this genuine personal touch.
Yeah.
It's a good reminder that leadership isn't just about, like, the big decisions. It's also about connecting with people
Mm-hmm.
on a human level
Absolutely. It's
Yeah.
about building those relationships. Yeah.
and understanding different perspectives.
I love that.
And let's not forget that thought-provoking question he asked.
Oh, yeah.
What doors are opening in your life right now?
Right.
I think we should all take some time to think about that.
Yeah. It's a great reminder to stay curious, to keep exploring, and to never stop learning.
Exactly. And to be on the lookout for those opportunities.
Well, on that note,
Yeah?
I think it's time to wrap up this deep dive.
Yeah, that's good.
But for anyone who wants to, explore more inspiring stories about innovators and leaders, make sure to check out our other deep dives. We've got a whole library of them.
Oh, yeah.
So go
Great.
check them out. Thanks for joining us,
Thanks, everyone.
and we'll see you next time.